have arrived. And so has the day. Derby Day. For the racing purists, it's truly special. There's the feature, the Penfolds Victoria Derby. To know how treasured it is, we need to only say Farlap won it. That was back in the time of black and white, which on Derby Day is a theme that sweeps tradition into the pulsing age of modern racing. From the horses to catwalks, the birdcage to humans doing as humans do. This is the moment we open the door to an event like no other in Australian sport. The magical Melbourne Cup Carnival. Four dazzling meetings. There's now
Mad Toys from Sharp and Smart.
Then Tuesday, when the nation stops and roars for the Lexus Melbourne Cup.
They're off in the cup.
On Thursday, the best 3-year-old fillies in the Kennedy Oaks.
She's Extreme coming clear.
Then a week from now, Tab Champions Stakes Day. The final 3 of 8 Group 1 races for the Carnival. A carnival of emotions that swell from Flemington across Australia and beyond. It's brilliant, epic, elegant, at times chaotic and filled with drama we cannot script. And it's here now. This is Penfolds Victoria Derby Day. Don't look away, because seeing is believing.
That's right, the greatest week of racing has finally arrived. It is the Melbourne Cup Carnival, and it is great to have your company once again on the road to the Melbourne Cup Carnival. And we have got a star-studded panel ready to dissect day one, Penfolds Victoria Derby Day. It is great to have Britt Taylor back live in the studio. How good is it to see you, Britt?
It is so good to be here, Michael, on the eve of what is the greatest week of the whole year.
There is no doubt about that. Our man, Glenn Boss, champion jockey. In retirement, he's become a little bit of a have you seen me man. It wasn't all about you last week, Bossy, but have a look at this. James McDonald after winning the Cox Plate. And then up you went to Queensland for the V8s. What's going on here? The supercars and Glenn Boss. We know you can produce your best on V8 horse speed. What about that type of
I was
speed?
out on Cox Plate Day trying to get a ride. 0. I thought, well, I'll go to the V8s and try and get a ride there. 0. Expectations and ability, 0.
Well, that's why we've got you here, though, because you are an expert when it comes to racing. Another man who's an expert is our very own David Gately, the best form judge in the business. How are you, Gato?
But he's like the opposite of Wes Wally, isn't he? He just bobs up everywhere. But look, it is a fascinating Derby Day in one aspect from a betting perspective. A lot of these favourites have a few holes in their form, so will be interesting.
Yep, 3 Group 1s on Derby Day, which kicks off the fabulous 4 days. And if we have a look at what we have awaiting us over the next week, the Derby, the Coolmore Stud Stakes and the Tab Empire Rose. And then on Tuesday, it is the race that stops the nation, the Lexus Melbourne Cup. Thursday, Kennedy VRC Oaks Day, and what is fast becoming almost the best day of the carnival, it is Champions Day with the Sprint, the Mile and the Tab Champions Stakes. Guys, I'm so looking forward to tomorrow. The Derby traditionally is the classic on the day, but the Coolmore Stud Stakes tomorrow is, I think, the most intriguing race. You can look everywhere. There are so many hopes in this race.
Yeah, traditionally, it does steal the show, doesn't it? You're marrying up the Sydney form to the Melbourne form, the Guineas coming back, and I just love Cylinder this year. I know he's deep into his prep gator, but he's just done nothing wrong this preparation and getting beaten a length and arguably our greatest sprint race of the year.
Yep. This is him on the inside, the white cap in the Everest, which is the strongest sprint race we have, taking on the older horses here, Gator.
Yeah, and it has become one of our great races facts there. And there's Shinzu in the Coolmore colours, just hitting the line nicely really late. He was crowded up for a lot of that race. It was a sneaky good run. He was 3rd quickest home in that race. Home Affairs emerged from what looked an average run to win this race. So he fascinates me, Shinzo.
He draws an inside barrier as well. The other 3-year-old, which we need to talk about from the Sydney form point of view, who comes through the Golden Slipper with all of them as well, well is King's Gambit. Britt, do you like King's Gambit in the
Well,
Coolmore?
he finally was able to get the job done in the Roman Console, wasn't he? But then, little red flag this morning, he spiked a temperature. So he's still a little bit of a watch and see with the vets. But it was just so good to see him put this together. He has undeniable talent, but he's been his own worst enemy because he gets too hot pre-race. He over-races in the run. I did like what we saw from him from a Flemington jump out where he settled nicely out the back. So hopefully he's starting to put it all together.
Barrier 2 gives him the opportunity to maybe get a bit of a smother bossy, which I think the stable said they really want because he can get over racing if he's in clear air.
And from experience, these colts that do that, when they try and race upside down, they're really good straight horses generally because you just come out, there's no urgency for anyone to go to a corner. So everyone jumps out in a nice, sedate sort of area and you can just come out and just find the right behind on that sort of horse and just sit there and just wait and let him explode.
I think that's what brought him undone when he was beaten as favourite in the Poseidon Stakes up the straight. He was up in the lead. He's not a natural leader.
No.
So I think ridden cold is the key to him.
Yep. Another interesting form race is the Caulfield Guineas. We haven't seen a horse come out of the Caulfield Guineas and win a Coolmore since Weekend Hustler, who was a freak back in 2007. We've got 3 this year, including Vedad there with the orange cap running second, Stapati in the blue, and in the pink colours, She Light. Bossy, do you give these horses a chance to come back from the 16 to win over the 12?
No.
Okay.
I can't have
Good chat.
Put it simply. That's all we need to know.
I just can't see it. I was suspect on this form. Obviously, Militarised ran pretty good in a Cox Plate, and he was the one I liked out of that race. And I still believe he will probably be the only horse in 12 months' time that we'll be speaking of out of that Guineas.
Okay, so who are you with in the Coolmore?
I'm still with Cylinder.
Okay.
I just think he's just done nothing wrong.
Britt?
Shinzo, I think, repeat what Home Affairs did 2 years ago. 9th in the Everest. It's a nice poetry there. Home Affairs was. It's exactly the same as Shinzo and then comes out and wins a Coolmore.
Yeah, it's going to be a cracking race. One of the other Group 1s is the Tab Empire Rose. And again, this is a really open affair, Gator. Any number of horses. Do you think the Sydney form is stronger than the Melbourne form when you look at this race overall?
Short answer, yes. I might do a bossy and just give you a sort of one-word answer.
Yes.
Works great on TV, apparently. But look, it probably is. Like, Alcohol Free's just run enormous in the lead-up race. We know a Tissue and Hope in Your Heart have been matching motors with some elites here. This is a Tissue hitting the line really strongly. She's subsequently gone to that hot Group 1. She was only beaten a couple of lengths, her and Hope in Your Heart, beaten a couple of lengths from Mr. Brightside and Fangirl. I mean, arguably they could have run 1-2 in a Cox Plate. So it's pretty elite form.
Yep. All right, what about the Melbourne form then? And Princess Grace, who got beaten at a really short price favourite from the Wallace stable, can she bounce back?
Well, she went into that race coming out of Group 1, so no surprise to see her favourite. But I thought she had every opportunity in this Rose of Kingston, and there's Life Lessons just hitting the front and just held her on the line, I thought. So from that perspective, I see it hard to see her turning the tables.
Yep. All right, just quickly, who wins?
I think Life Lessons.
I'd like to see Alcohol Free run. She just might be bubbling over. I think it's getting close.
The $10 million mare. We're going to take a break, and as we do, let's have a look at what was an amazing launch for Melbourne Cup Carnival Week.
Have a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I've ever seen the Flemington Racecourse look so beautiful. This is the race that stops a nation.
I love that everyone embraces it. It's not just a sporting event. It's all about a lifestyle. And, you know, people, it's public holiday in Victoria, that people come to the Cup or they'll have Cup Day lunches. You know, it's really a national event, very much a people's event.
You can wander around, enjoy the day of racing entertainment, see the fashion, see people. It's just an experience you can't get anywhere else.
But always when you walk into Flemington, it's got that special feeling as a jockey and never changes.
I think it's the climax for the year for me and probably most jockeys. You know, obviously it's the Melbourne Cup, but the whole week is a huge event. You know, to be a part of it and hopefully with some good rides and maybe a winner or two, the most exciting part of the year and certainly the week for us.
"30 years in any job is a lifetime for most. Try 30 years when your office chair is a 500-kilo thoroughbred travelling at 60 kilometres an hour. From a family of jockeys, this has been Damien Oliver's life. But with longevity comes a fair dose of pain and tragedy, along with triumph.
Preferment on the outside. Ollie's done it again. Preferment by...
The success is jaw-dropping. In Australian racing, he is the GOAT. 129 Group 1 victories. It's rarefied air.
Mystic Journey, and Colette drives through. Colette from Mystic Journey. Colette just in front. Colette, what a ride. Colette.
And here at headquarters, fabulous Flemington, he's won 3 Melbourne Cups. Doremus in 1995.
But Doremus takes the double. Doremus 3.5. Nothing like it ain't run second. Damien Oliver wins his first.
Fiorente in 2013.
Just in front of Red Cadeau, who's coming back. Fiorente by a neck. Oliver's lifting him. And Fiorente won the Melbourne Cup again.
And the one they made a movie about, Media Puzzle, in 2002.
Beekeeper Mr. Prudent are running on from Vinnie Road, but it's Media Puzzle clear. And Media Puzzle. Damien and Dermot have done it. Media Puzzle beats Mr. Prudent, Beekeeper.
Triumph following tragedy. Just a week prior, Damien's brother Jason died in a horse fall, just as his dad did when Ollie was just 3.
A more popular Melbourne Cup winner I don't think we've ever seen.
Australia and the world with you.
Yeah, Melbourne Cups don't mean a thing to me anymore. I'd give it back right now to have my brother back. I mean, it's so tragic to lose someone in the family so young. Never take anything for granted.
There are other layers to this story too. A lengthy suspension for betting on a rival horse, a broken spine in 1996. Resilience might be the best word to describe him. Ask his rivals, and it would be competitive. He loves to compete. 4 decades, and this Melbourne Cup Carnival, his last. He's not looking for a gold watch, just another Golden Cup.
What an amazing sportsman he is, Damien Oliver, and we'll get to farewell him in style over Melbourne Cup week. And, of course, Derby Day is a race he's made his own. No one has ridden more winners over the entire Melbourne Cup week than Damien Oliver, with 85 Cup week wins. And Derby Day, Ollie has ridden 28 winners. In recent times, though, James McDonald has been the man chasing him. 4 wins in both 2021, 2022, and our very own Glenn Boss gets a Guernsey there with 3 wins as well. It is going to be fabulous to see Damien Oliver. And the great thing is, Britt, he's got a farewell Melbourne Cup ride, his 32nd Melbourne Cup ride.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Such a nod to his longevity. And I'm glad he's got the Cup ride. I think he's going to have to be at his very, very best to win it, though. I just don't think Alan Kerr's going good enough to win a Cup.
It ran a sneaky nice race in the Moonee Valley Cup, but I think for Bossy, he's just happy to be, for Ollie, he's just happy to be partaking in the last Cup.
Oh, yeah, and I've had the best seat in the whole house with Ollie. You know, I've known Ollie over 30 years and competed with him all those years, and he's one of my great mates, and I've been privy to some of the most special moments. I've not only, apart from my victories in the Melbourne Cup, one of the most special moments I had was when he won on Media Puzzle. What was going on for that week and the way the boys got around him and protected him, and just the way I rode fantastic in the Cup that year, and I followed him. I drew beside him. I followed him every step of the race, every step, and I couldn't believe what was happening in front of me. And he just sailed off from the sunset. And I remember riding down the straight, watching the TV, watching me mate win the Melbourne Cup. It was crazy.
Never been so happy to lose a Cup.
No, we had tears. It was amazing. So yeah, it was very good times. So I'm getting emotional about it now.
He might even get a chance to win his own race, the last at Flemington on Derby Day, the Damien Oliver. Speaking of good jockeys, Mark Zara, he had a difficult decision to make last week. Gold Trip in the Melbourne Cup. Did he stick with him or not? I think you might have had some inside information because you were very confident which way Mark Zara was going last week.
Yeah, I've had a lot to do with Mark over the last couple of years with decisions that he has to make because, you know, sometimes you're riding 2 really good horses and he asks me information, and we had another conversation about within the fight and Gold Trip, and I just was the opinion Without a Fight was definitely the horse to go with. You know, he was dominant in the Caulfield Cup. He was second up, can only improve. 56.5 in a Melbourne Cup, and I just didn't like the prep that Gold Trip was had. They shouldn't have run him in a Caulfield Cup. I'm adamant of that.
Well, I
might be wrong, but
it's a big call from Bossy. They haven't done too bad with the Gold Trip team. James McDonald jumps on the defending champion in the Melbourne Cup. Jamie Carr has a Melbourne Cup ride as well, not on Valiant King, but on More Felons, an interesting international galloper, now trained by Chris Waller.
He worked really well, and he, for a horse that obviously there's no doubt that he's not going to get the trip, he actually worked really sharp. He had a really nice turn of foot the last furlong as well.
Gee, she's been under a bit of pressure this spring carnival, Jamie Carr. It's good to see her with a decent ride in the Melbourne Cup. All right, time to preview the feature on day one of the Melbourne Cup Carnival, of course. It is the Penfolds Victoria Derby. And, Brett, there's a lot of different form lines we can look at here, but Riff Rocket is the central figure in most of them.
Absolutely. You only have to go back to that superimpose 5.5 length victory. This was just so dominant, and it was from this moment that we saw him really go into Derby calculations. But obviously, last start, he wasn't able to win there. But can he bounce back?
You would have absolutely fallen off your chair after that win if you'd said, you know what, he's going to get beaten by a horse he beat by 8 lengths his next start at Caulfield. But that is what occurred with Sunsets.
I can't believe this. This was it was a nothing race, to be very honest, Michael. They went one of the slowest times ever run.
The 7th slowest Caulfield 2,000 metre race since 2007.
Yeah,
it's extraordinary.
So it was a nothing race. He never got a chance to get into a gallop. He'll improve so much more when he gets back to Flemington.
The 3rd and 4th horse in that race, Gates, who is Moody and Catherine Coleman, is a good runner, I suppose, over 2,500. And then Apulia, the form line we saw stack up last week, winning the Vase. Do you give either of them a chance of turning the tables on Riff Rocket?
Gates looks a genuine stayer, so that's a positive. I mean, he's going to be strong at the end of the trip. He's just got to be fast enough, right? But Apulia is the one who was back and wide in that slowly run race, mathematically no hope, finds a fast run race and shows his depths of endurance by rounding up Verdad and co. They just run quite well in a Caulfield Guineas and was quite dominant. Substance on the clock there with a fast speed, so winning hope, I think.
OK, Bossy, I know you're really confident. Riff Rocket, the favourite.
Oh, visually he was spectacular in the superimpose. You just can't get that vision out of your head. And like I said, I put a pen through the last race.
What about yourself then, Brett?
Apulia for me.
Really?
By Fiorente out of a high shap mare, bred to get the journey, and clearly he's tough. We've seen him the last 2 weeks and backing up again 3 weeks in a row.
Well, it would be a lot of solace for the Hayes team if Apulia was to win, because last week they thought they'd won the Cox Plate.
What a performance. Blasted away. Ready, and away they go. Imperatrice is going to do it from the front today. But Imperatrice called upon. Still 3 lengths in front. And the Tangerine Tsunami's going to do it again. Imperatrice won it well.
Is she the best horse you've ever ridden?
She is by far. Mooney Valley about to erupt. Racing in the Cox Plate. Alligator Blood is poised. The link Mr. Brightside sneaking round the fence. Then came Romantic Warrior. Romantic Warrior the outside. Alligator Blood at the 100. Romantic Warrior, Mr. Brightside. Still Alligator Blood. Mr. Brightside can he get it from Romantic Warrior? It's a photo finish. Mr. Brightside or Romantic Warrior. Romantic Warrior is going to get up by a nose.
This means so much. I've got so much faith in this horse, and oh my God, I thought I got beat.
Oh, what a race it was. The Cox Plate. J-Mac going back to back, and well done to everyone here. They tipped the Hong Kong champ Romantic Warrior to win the Cox Plate. Bossy, do you think we're going to see a lot more Hong Kong horses now attempting to do what Romantic Warrior was?
I hope so, but they've got to send their best.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't send over a nice horse because you're not going to get near it.
Did you think he'd won, or Mr. Brightside sneaking up the inside?
I was standing right on the finish line, right in the enclosure there, and I thought he just got there.
Yeah.
I'm still convinced Mr. Brightside won, even when you watch the replay subsequently, knowing the result. That shadow, just you couldn't... Oh, look at that.
Poor Craig Williams.
Gold Trip running home very nicely again in the lead up to the Cox Plate. We're going to get to see Alligator Blood and Mr. Brightside on Champions Day, Gator.
Yeah, look, I normally frown upon horses coming back in trip, but these two are proven doing so. Back at the mile, it looks like the most likely target for those two.
Yeah, Imperatrice was a great entree to the Cox Plate last week. It was nothing more than a track gallop, but look at the ease in which she does this, Britt, and it sets up a mouth-watering Champions Sprint on final day.
She's a sensation. We've seen what she can do at Mooney Valley. Now the big test is, can she do it up the Flemington Straight, taking on In Secret, who we know has that Flemington Straight form.
So Imperatrice, In Secret, and we also get to see Asfura now as well. Who are you leaning towards at this early stage?
Imperatrice.
Yeah.
And I won't hear of her getting beat.
Gator?
Yeah, that's me. You're looking over there, Bobby Batista all over again. But
we look similar.
Yeah, true. You're very good looking. She's that has to be the one to beat Imperatrice on that. I mean, He's trying to just compare it to black caviar. This is a bit of a stretch. But...
Yeah, I know.
I don't know how we got Bobby Batista in the rundown, but anyway, we got there. We need to take a break as we do. Channel 10, it all begins tomorrow morning for Derby Day. Eddie McGuire, Michelle Payne, Frankie Dettori will also be joining the coverage over the week. We can't wait. Thanks, Bossy and Britt. Look forward to seeing you at Flemington in the morning. We need to take a break as we go. Let's have a look at the Birdcage, the hottest ticket all week at Flemington. Time to grab your pens, punters, because David Gately is here to give us all the good oil on Penfolds Victoria Derby Day. Let's have a look at the market, Gator. We've spoken a lot about the favourite Riff Rocket. Can you believe he was odds on earlier in the week? He is still pretty short at $2.25. Apulia, $4.20, and Verdad, the only other runner under $10.
Yeah, he's short enough, Riff Rocket. I mean, I take Glenn's point that there was dominance at Flemington 2 runs ago and had excuses last start, so I'd certainly mark him favourite, but he's skinny. Apulia's a big danger. Sunsets, if they can overcome the draw, he's not out of that either.
We normally see a roughie that can run a place in the Derby. Who's your roughie this year?
Yeah, thanks for listening. I think Sunsets is the one at double figures that can run well.
Okay, no worries. Double figures. I wanted something at a big price.
That's how you roll.
All right, no worries. Let's have a look at the Coolmore now, and there's a few here at a big price as well. It's an open race dominated by the Sydney form Cylinder, $4.60, Shinzu $5.50, King's Gambit are the big three, $7.50, and the filly Stretton Angel has been the big market mover all week.
Well, the fillies have won 3 of the last 5, haven't they? So they're right in this conversation. Of course, she herself beat the males last time, Unstoppable and co. I think it's the elites are at the top of the market, though. Cylinder and Shinzo come through the Everest, so both run well in it. And King's Gambit is the one who's probably the most gifted out of all of those. I wish he drew wider, and I don't love the little temperature thing, but he'd be my top pick if he's there in one piece.
I thought I Am Unstoppable wasn't a bad price too, at around about $11, $12.
Look, he's there to be competitive. I mean, he was, obviously, with the one they're backing, Stretton Angel, and he beat King's Gambit 2 runs ago, so it's an easy case to make.
Let's have a look ahead to Tuesday. The Lexus Melbourne Cup and the groundswell of support for Vauban, the international, after a very impressive piece of work at Flemington, has been enormous. Into $3.50 now. Gold Trip, the defending champion, $4.50. The Caulfield Cup winner without a fight at $7. And then we're out to Salcombe Breakup. The top 3 have really broken away, and the punters have really honed in on Vauban and Gold Trip at the top of the market.
Yeah, they certainly have. And Vauban's work was spectacular by all reports. It was a similar sort of vibe, wasn't it, with Romantic Warrior leading into the Cox Plate, who worked the place down. So he's obviously going to be hard to beat. He's won 7 of 14 for a reason. You can't be no good. But Gold Trip without a fighter there, strongly in the conversation.
Yeah, at the moment, is it the top 3 in the market that you can't see an outsider really winning the Cup?
Look, I need to get my teeth into it, but there's you can obviously make a case for quite a few of them. You know, Ruffy's ran 2nd and 3rd last year, so I'm not saying no.
Don't forget, you'll see the barrier draw in the final field for the Lexus Melbourne Cup on 10 play after our coverage on Derby Day at 6:30. Hey, Gator, I can't wait to see you out at Flemington. It is one of the great days. 37 races. We kick it off with the Derby Day coverage.
Can't wait. Plan to tip the card too.
Oh, good. Your best bet's in the first. You'll have to tune in tomorrow to make sure you see that. We'll see you next week for our preview of the Lexus Melbourne Cup on the road to the Melbourne Cup Carnival, and we'll see you out at Flemington on Derby Day.